Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good evening, good morning, good night. Who knows what time of day it is? They went in the wrong order, Carlo. Anything can happen. You are listening, or rather watching, the Reds Report. Well, you might be listening. It could be on audio. You never know.
You're better off, to be fair.
Yeah, you probably are better off. This is going very smooth. With myself, Chris Richard, and of course, always my partner in crime, Carlo van der Watering.
Mr. Richard, how are we doing?
Very good. Two things. What are you drinking?
As always, it's Pepsi Max Cherry.
Good choice. And the lighting, is that mood lighting, or is it just so you look better?
Well, it's in honour of our special guest, because we tend to get, this nice mood. It's there, and it's like, I don't want it too bright, just nice and subtle. So, yeah.
That's good. Yes, also, just because you will have been observant and realised it's not just us two today, and it's not a football player. Well, he might have been a football player, I don't know. Who knows?
Definitely not.
He's been to enough football. Massive guest, friend of ours, friend of the show. Phil Hall.
Good evening, how you doing?
I was trying to think of loads of superlatives to describe it.
There aren't enough, Chris, are there?
We'd have been here all night, pal, so I'll just get it up as a backdrop. How are you? Are you well? You look well.
Yeah, I'm keeping well, thanks.
Yeah, you look really tan.
Backache and ribeye, but I'm getting there.
What is that? Is that from the wife and the daughter, or is that from your previous injuries?
Yeah. Mutual domestic abuse,
That's another file that Carlo's got to open.
It keeps him in work, doesn't it?
I don't know if you've noticed, Phil, but he has been working all through this lockdown. I don't know, his shoulder, he must be injured as well from carrying Barnsley. Are you all right, Carlo? Are you going to be all right? You're going to nod off?
Listen, mate, it's getting you for a year and there's done the damage here, not work.
So, Phil, Carlo, today I attended the press conference with Gerhard Struber on Zoom, or via Zoom, rather. Lots of talking points to discuss. And then, Carlo, you obviously watched the Dane Murphy interview, or rather listened to the Dane Murphy interview early on in week.
Yeah.
We'll cover that as well. But over about 10-15 minutes to chat. It's just nice. So, Phil, we'll start as we mean to go on. Gerhard Struber was asked about how everyone is. He basically just said everybody's healthy, fit and ready. Should we really expect anything less from professional footballers other than to be healthy, fit and ready?
You'd think not, but it's strange circumstances, isn't it? And they're all expecting to be on the beach in the Bahamas or the Maldives or somewhere, and they're not. They're training. So,
do you think it's possible to keep everybody healthy, fit and ready, given the fact that they are going to play Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Well, it's going to be difficult. I think Struber said, it's going to be more of a squad game. He's going to have to get a lot of people involved. And I think that's right to keep it fresh. But everybody's in the same boat, aren't they? All right, some have got bigger squads than ours, but our squad is a fair size. So I think we should be all right. The players are up for it, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing like a challenge, is there?
Of course. Well, I think he expected a challenge when he came to Barnsley, but he's got a much bigger one and a very different one. Carlo, Phil mentioned the squad, which brings us on to his next one. Gerhard Struber said he's been training with 25 players. He obviously found that difficult, being able to get his message home to everybody. But he has said it's important to change and keep fresh. Just thoughts on that. Have we got 25 players that are good enough for this level?
I think there's no doubt, especially with the 5 substitutes rule for these last remaining 9 games, that some players that we might have not seen feature much will get some game time. I'm thinking of somebody like Kenny Dougal. We know he fits into this squad pretty well. It's just the formation we play lends to the fact that Apo Halme tends to sit, at the bottom of that diamond. We're obviously giving the Bambo Diaby situation. Alex Mowich played there before. Tommy Siddick played there before he went to Hearts. So I think there'll be some players that maybe have featured a bit on the bench that will get more game time. I mean, you've got a lot of games in a short period of time. As sportsmen, yes, they should be able to deal with that. But undoubtedly, there'll be injuries. Hopefully not. But I don't know what the situation is with cards. Has that been stopped, or are we still counting? Because normally there's like after January or whatever. So I don't know. And I'm sure some players will get game time that they didn't expect. So have we got them? Yes. Will they be up for it? No other option, is there? There's 9 cup finals in front of us.
You just mentioned Kenny Dougal, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Just remember Kenny Dougal, we'll come back to it. Phil, it took me 4 minutes to mention how old you are. I do apologise. And there is a reason for it. There is a reason. Carlos just mentioned there's 5 subs that's going to be allowed. And I believe it's going to be, is it 2 that's allowed at half time, I believe. And then you've got 5, so you can have 2 and then 3. You obviously have seen a lot of football throughout different eras. What kind of rule change have you seen in your time in terms of subs and stuff? What kind of period have you... I'm assuming there weren't subs when you first started watching. Is that correct?
There were just, I think, yeah.
Just subs.
They just started. You had 1 sub. And basically, you used him if somebody got injured. That was it. There was no tactical substitution as such.
So, I guess my question to you is, at what point did that change to 3 subs? And how quickly did teams adapt to it? Because obviously, we're going to have to adapt to it quite quickly.
I can't remember when it changed exactly, but I'm guessing it's probably, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s, something like that. It seemed strange at the time, and I think a lot of teams were reluctant to use them, and they were still working on the basis, we've got 1 substitute. But gradually, people began to realise that you could use them for tactical changes. So it's gradually evolved, although I think 5's going a bit over the top, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to gradually evolve this time, whatever. People are just... And I'm sure I heard it. I may have misheard it, but in the press conference, I heard Gerhard Struber say something about using them for overload, which is an interesting thought process. Just whacking everybody on and putting them all down left-hand side or right, or just fresh legs in a certain part of the pitch. Carlo, do you have any idea how they might be used?
Well, I think obviously the type of football that we play, which is very much that high press, that gegenpress football, maybe to our benefit. After 65, 70 minutes, you can take somebody off. Maybe not because they're injured, but to save some energy for the next match in 2 or 3 days, and you can put somebody on who's got similar pace. Ideally, you want to not give in on any quality, do you? You don't want to say, no, I don't want to take so-and-so off because we're going to give in on quality or skill or whatever. And we know that when Barnsley are on it, and we've seen that when we've played decent teams like Fulham, when we're on it, they find it very hard to cope with us. So you need to be able to keep that high energy, high intensity, high pace football going for 90 minutes. And in that case, I suppose, overload is can we overload our opponents with that for 90 minutes straight? And I think the fact that we've got one of the youngest squads glass is always half full, and will put us in good stead, because I think they will recover quicker. You've got some teams with some players, towards the end 20s, early 30s. Will they be able to cope with it as well as some of our younger ones?
Yeah, no, it's a very valid point you mentioned, Phil. Carlo mentioned earlier about the big squads and, been having 25 players involved in training, and there's obviously going to be 20 players involved on the day. Do you foresee anybody making a much bigger impact than what we've seen in the previous part of the season? So I'm looking at players that may have been loaned out previously and are coming back. So Toby Sibic, for example, or players that would always be on peripheral that didn't quite make that final step. So maybe your Aidan Marsh as such. Is there anybody that you foresee probably playing a bigger role and possibly getting more game time?
In terms of the loan players, I may be wrong, but I don't think they can play for us again this season.
No, Toby Sibic
is training. I don't think Sibic and McGeehan can play again this season.
No, Sibic is training, but not playing with them. He can't
we'll move back to McGeehan and Wilson a bit. They're not going to come back. I didn't realise, because I know that the legislation originally is you can only play for 2 teams in a season. That's the original legislation. So I just didn't know, because obviously he played for Barnsley already.
Yeah.
And he's played for Hearts. So it'd be the same team, but I'm assuming that the class...
No, he said before in a press conference that Toby Sibic is come back to train with the lads, and that's good.
Okay, so he'll be part of that setup.
But he won't be involved in any of the games.
Got you. I've not caught that one. So Phil, forget the Toby Sibic aspect. The Aidan Marsh aspect, then, of somebody been on the peripheral, might we see an impact from somebody like that?
Yeah, we may well do. I think the nucleus has got to be the bulk of the team we've used for most of the season, although it hasn't exactly got us off the foot of the table. But I mean, there's a lot of good youth players there, and it's a chance for somebody to make a name for themselves. Who it might be is anybody's guess, but it's there for the taking, isn't it? And you've got to bear in mind also that a lot of players in the mid-table teams will already be on the beach. I mean, they should have been on the beach. So they're not going to be that bothered. But we've got everything to play for. Some of those players have got a lot to prove.
Yeah.
You guys are brilliant at leading me on to my next question. Once again, Carl, Phil's just touched on it then about mindset and people thinking they're already on the beach. Looking at other teams, mid-table teams, they're not going up, they're not going down. We're looking at players that are coming out of contract within the next, by end of June. We're looking at players that might have their eye on where they're going to be next season. Yeah. Carl, can that mentality help? Struber mentioned it. He mentioned the mentality. We're in a very lucky situation. We've only got Radlinger, who's out of contract, along with Dougal. They're the two that are going to be in and amongst it that are out of contract. We'll come back to them next. Can the mindset have a positive impact for Barnsley?
100%. I think there's two things, isn't there? I would, even if we weren't in this predicament, I think after such a long break in the season, to come back, being at the bottom of the table, I think gives all our players the impetus to give 100%. I think it's far harder, and we'll be the underdog in every game that we go in, because we're always the underdog anyway, aren't we? So I think from being bottom of the league, that mentality of we need points, having that young squad will give the mentality. Personally, I think for a West Brom or a Leeds, they were flying. We've had a 12-week break. Will they still be flying? Some players, like you mentioned, Lyle Taylor is obviously the example of Charlton. Star player, fantastic player, on his day, unplayable.
Just above the drop zone. Just above the drop zone.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But he's saying, listen, I'm not going to play for this club next season. I don't want to play these 9 matches because if I get injured, I don't get my move. And for him, that's going to be a big money move somewhere. So having a settled squad with only 2 players that might or might not, I think, yeah, it does put us in good stead. I think it really, really does. I think the youth, the contract situation, it's quite a settled club, a settled team.
Yeah, well, there are players that he's not going to offer a contract to, and therefore they've not been involved with this 25. Your Mamadou Thiams and your Danny Piniosas. Phil, we'll go on to the good news of Radlinger and Kenny Dougal sticking with us. They're going to stick it out for the fight, at least, minimal. We'll talk about Kenny for yourself. He's got a chance to make a major impact with or without staying next season. It's irrelevant at the minute, isn't it? Surely. Just that 9 games. It's a good signing for that 9 games.
It is, you know, he'll show what he can do, that's for sure. He's got the opportunity to put himself out there and say, look, here I am, this is what I can do, you know, and he deserves that chance for me.
And obviously he plays that defensive midfield role, Carlo, which you mentioned the Bambo Diaby situation. How many might not be able to play at the tip of the at the bottom of the diamond because we might need him at centre back. So having Dougal to step in there, it's all. Alex Marks could play there, but I guess it comes a numbers game. So just having bodies, quality bodies like Kenny Dougal and like Sammy Radlinger, they're needed, aren't they? For this running.
Yeah, I think so. I think for goalkeeper, it's been weird. I've never had the feeling that we had an out-and-out number 1 goalkeeper because he's been sort of swapping and changing. I know there have been injuries as well. I have no issue. I think Bradley Collins is a huge talent. Look at the pedigree. Look where he's come from. Look what he's done before. So if Radlinger doesn't, stay with us next season or whatever, I won't worry about that. I worry more about the Kenny Dougal situation purely because of the pedigree that he's got. He was very much played week in, week out and then fell almost out of favour. He had some injuries as well, obviously that didn't help. But in that situation, when we're under pressure, I've always just felt that when he comes on, he can just take the tempo out of the game a bit. He can pick a pass. And I think he's just good to have around. And he's also one of the players, isn't he, that's been negotiating regarding the wages with Dane Murphy and about, deferring a certain amount of time. So I think he's good to have on the pitch and off the pitch, just among the lads.
I'm going to put Phil on the spot here. Phil, put you right on the spot. Who's your number 1? First game back. Who's number 1? Who's in goal?
Collins for me.
Collins
I still prefer Collins, yeah.
Carlo, would you agree with that?
Either will do, as long as I keep the ball out of the net, I'm not bothered. Put Kenny Dougal in goal for me.
Yeah, well, the defenders are going to have to help him with that task, aren't they? The defenders are definitely have to help with that task. The other news, obviously, is that Wilkes and McGeehan will not be returning. They will stick it out at their respective teams. McGeehan obviously will end up playing it playoffs for Portsmouth. Carlo's shaking his head. I know Carlo is... The thing is with Carlo, Phil, I think he was thinking that by bringing Malik Wilkes back, it would weaken Hull. What's your thoughts on that?
It possibly would, but I don't think it would do that much for us because he's never pulled any trees up with us, has
No,
he?
I wouldn't play him. I wouldn't even let him train with us, but I wouldn't give him to Hull. Hull, before all this started, were way out of form. Now, that doesn't mean anything because it's almost like starting the season again, isn't it? It's almost like a mini tournament it becomes now, like a mini World Cup or whatever. So I just think he under the guardianship of McCann at Hull, he always gets the best out of him. And I don't want him to get the best out of the player that could potentially send us down. I know we don't have to play Hull, but in or around the same area as we are. So ideally, I wouldn't. I know that's not very sportsmanlike, but all is fair in the last 9 games of the championship season.
I'd ignore stuff like that. I'd say concentrate on our game. Forget that.
Well,
concentrate on what we're doing. Forget about everybody else.
I would suggest that's the fine. I think there's financial implications as well. I think quite a high price has been agreed for Wilkes. Well, I say a high price, a price that we are more than happy to offload him for. So I think to bring him back, I think they've got the eyes on. He probably unbalances the squad. He probably doesn't.
100%. He to me, he's a little bit like the Leroy Leiter of the 21 ones.
Therefore, get the money back while we can. Yeah, possibly. Just last one. Gerhard mentioned his future and basically just said that he is putting all his energy into this 9 games and he's not thinking beyond that. And you touched on it, Carl. Mentioned it's like a mini World Cup. Well, you probably only might play 5, 6, 7 games in a World Cup. We've got 9 to play, so it's a bit bigger than a World Cup. But the mentality's there. The energy's just got to play on winning them 9 games, hasn't it? Phil? You can't be thinking beyond that. We can't be thinking is Radlinger going to stay, is Dougal going to stay, is Gerhard going to stay. We ain't got time, and the energy needs to put into just winning those games. The
proof's in the pudding, and our points per game increased when Daniel Stendel went and Struber came in. I know there was a period in between where obviously somebody else took over, but I think have trust in him. I think he does get the best out of our players. I really, really do. I think some players we've really seen come on. I mean, you look at the likes of Chaplin, you look at the likes of Coley Woodrow. So I have full faith that with a fully fit squad for these 9 games, I can see us climbing out of the danger that we're in. Because I think other clubs maybe not have not luxury, but the ability to make as many changes, young players, and a quicker recovery. And that's what I'm hanging my hope on.
Phil, what side of the fence you sitting on? You're not going to sit on the fence, Phil.
No, I'm agreeing with Carlo. I'm not sitting on it. I'm on Carlo's side there. I think we can do it. It's a tall order, but I think we can do it with the youth we've got and the passion and commitment we've got. I think we can do it. All right, you might say we're lacking experience because that's been the case all season, but now you got Kenny Dougal back in there, that sort of play. You got Alex Mowat in there. But, people who can just slow the game down a bit, put the foot on the ball, and say, "Hang on a minute," and tell the other lads what to do. It's going to be hard, but I think we really think we can do it.
And the key, isn't it, Chris? Well, and Phil, is those 3 games all in a row: Luton, Wigan, Stoke. They're all around us, and if we can, I know it's.
If you take 7 points from them,
I was just going to say, if you, but also we play some teams that, like you say, are there or thereabouts or nothing to play for, and I think he's made sure that our team is hungry. And when you come up against the Barnsley squads that's hungry, refreshed, fully fit, I don't think people will want to play. And take, we have to go to Leeds now. Normally we say, that long road. It's an empty stadium. You might as well play at Westborough or at Atherley Rec. So that advantage has gone as well, I think.
Well, if you remember, not so long back, we'll remember that Wigan were already promoted and we needed to beat Wigan on last game of the season at Wigan's ground. And they obviously had far too much Sprite the night before and we made them look terrible. So who knows, Leeds might not have anything to play for at that point. There might have been a nice big celebration at the City Hall a few days prior to that. Who knows? So, I think it's certainly all to play for. Carlo, that's pretty much me done from press conference. I don't know if you want to talk about Dane Murphy.
Yeah, just a quickie because we've only got about 4 minutes left. Just Phil's thoughts on, obviously, a letter's gone out to the EFL from Barnsley Football Club just saying that if a club breaches the financial fair play regulations, they should be punished within that season. Because if they are playing with an advantage, a financial advantage or whatever you want to call it, then that is against the teams that surround him now. And let's talk Sheffield Wednesday. Financial irregularities, that's been spotted. It's no use giving them a 6-point deduction next season when we might be in League One, when we're one of the teams that might go down. And actually, should we? What's your thoughts on the whole saga regarding fines at the EFL?
I totally agree with you, Carlo. I mean, I'd go further. I mean, the legislation's there for a reason. If you breach it, I'd relegate them. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And that it'll not happen again. Whereas now, it's happened with Bolton in the past. It's happening at the moment with Birmingham City. Looks like they're going to get away with doing it again.
Yeah.
So, sooner or later, the likes of Macclesfield Town get, absolutely slaughtered for it.
Yeah.
Bigger clubs, no. And it's just not on.
No.
And the EFL, well, we all know they're toothless, and there's no dentist at the moment, so that doesn't help.
Well, I think they're mindless as well at times, aren't they? There's not much.
Well, it makes you wonder. Sooner or later, somebody's got to take a big hit, and it ought to be sooner rather than later.
I agree with what Struber said today, sorry, Chris, when he says that EFL talk about integrity, but all they talk about is money. And I don't think integrity and money are sometimes you can put in the same corner. There is something about the EFL is made up of the people that they are legislating in retrospect. So, the representative from Sheffield Wednesday who sits on that EFL board is not going to say, oh, yeah, we should be doing this. It should be, for me, an independent regulatory body. It's same as if you complain to ITV or to Ofcom, somebody independent reviews them and says that's the penalty, whether that's financial, points, whatever. And I think that's what we need to get to with the EFL as well. Because otherwise, very much like Phil says, we have got rules and you shouldn't break them. But if you break them, it's all right because we're not going to do anything about them. Well, why do we have rules then? In that case, we'll play with 25 men away at QPR. All on
my thoughts on it as a whole, I think fairly or unfairly, Paulm Conway and Dane Murphy get a lot of stick on social media, a lot of stick in the media, and I really like how aggressive that Paulm Conway and Dane Murphy have been over this subject. I think it's brilliant that they are fighting the corner for whatever reason, for whatever motive, whether it be that financial or in Barnsley's best interest. I couldn't care less. They are fighting it, and they are fighting it quite aggressively, and hats off to them for that. So I think it's all right saying out the bad stuff that they do, but this, I think they've got a very valid point, and I'm really pleased that they're fighting it, and we're not just going to go down with a whimper like Bolton relegated us previous year. Didn't get punished. They got punished a year later. And what good is that to us? So I'm glad that they are being so aggressive at this minute in time, and we're not going down with a whimper.
It's not an easy job. They have to try and sell season tickets when we don't know what the season will look like or what division we're in. They can't do right for doing wrong. And I think, yes, if people want to give them stick, that don't help the cause because ultimately they're fighting for our club. And those people that put on internet, why don't they inject a few million? Well, then we would do exactly the same as what all these other clubs have done that we're going against. And before we run out of time, because we've got less than a minute, Phil, as the football starts, we are thinking of doing some shows like this in this format. Maybe the day before the game, maybe the day after the game to review and preview.
Come back on, Phil.
Can you come back with us and be one of our regular contributors?
Yeah, no problem.
It's always good to hear from you.
No
About
problem.
20 seconds to go. He's been Carlo van der Waterton. I've been Chris Ridgard. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you watch some other videos. Thanks for having us. Phil, we will see you back on for more previews and more reviews. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Cheers.
See you later, lads. Ta-ra.